It can tick all it wants, Joe. So I had planned about a 25-minute, 30-minute talk I've written out here. But then I discovered that the word buggered was allowed. And so that opens up a whole new vocabulary to me. And therefore, that written speech just won't do. So I'll just concentrate on a few thanks. First thing I like to do is I'll just reflect a little bit. I started back at AWE in the 1980, and after messing around, learning around what a few words meant, I got playing on some radiation flow, radiation hydrodynamics, and then some plasma physics. So if you'd have chatted to me back then in, I guess, the mid-80s and said I'd be coming onto this stage, following after George Zimmerman, and being given a chance to honour John Castor, I would have thought you were nuts at the time. So that just says I've had a very lucky career to be in this position. I'm very honoured to be here and to be able to say thanks and to recognise this day. First of all, I'd really like to thank John Beeloff and Heather Whitley, who I think have pulled this whole thing together. I applaud all the admin support, and you've already done that, but I think you two, for getting this together and for helping get us here together, I think deserve a set of applause. Next thing I really would like to do is thank all our speakers. I've managed to be here, I think, for the whole day, bar one talk, the talk straight after lunch, when I'm afraid I had to give a presentation to some visitors to the lab. But I got back straight after that, and I thought, it's been really interesting. George, I agree with you. The reflection on really understanding all the things you've touched, John, has been amazing. I know about many of the things on the lab side, but seeing the broader side has been really entertaining. And so I'd like to thank all the speakers for all the presentations today. So you've seen a snippet of the things that John has done that have really influenced the open side of it, the unclassified side of our business and the broader outreach. And I'm going to have to leave it to your imaginations or your knowledge, if you know, of the things that he's impacted inside on the closed side. All I can say is he's brought the same strengths to the work inside, the same commitment, the same impact on our national security, a real emphasis on, if you like, weapons science, but more importantly, the implications of that weapons science and what it does to our products and the things we care about, just as you've heard. And that's been an immense contribution that we've been honoured to have at the lab. As far as an employee, I would say John, in my opinion, borders on almost the perfect employee. I would say, I was thinking about this before, and I think there's 5 characteristics, I guess, that I think of. And that is that I would say he's brilliantly talented. We've heard about that many times. He brings immense professionalism. We've heard about that. He's humble about his own achievements, and we've heard about that. He's enthusiastic, and I hope you've sensed that when he gets involved in something. He brings that energy, that enthusiasm about what he's doing. And he's also incredibly supportive to everyone around him, everyone he interacts with, and everyone he touches. And I don't know how you can ask for anything more than that in an employee, in someone who you work with, your peer or whatever. It's fantastic. And so I applaud you, John, for that, for bringing that for the whole time I've known you, but it sounds like for your whole career as well. That's something to really be amazed of. I think one thing that gives me hope as I look forward, and also a little bit of fear that I don't mess up, is the fact that we can bring people like John to a laboratory like Lawrence Livermore, and we can keep them here, want them to stay here and contribute here to our mission for the rest of their careers. That's an immense achievement, I think, for the lab, and I'm really proud that I work for a lab that can do that. And like I say, I hope that I don't mess that up, and in the future we have other Johns that come and want to stay. That's a great thing for us, and that's been brought up several times today, the ability of the lab to have that cadre of people around as a scientific environment. So with that, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Charlie Verdon and WCI, on behalf of the lab, I'd really like to thank you for the contributions you've brought, the immense impact you've had, and to really wish you well for the future. And so all I think is left is, I have a little something, I believe, plaque to give you, so I would appreciate if you'd just come up to the stage to receive this. And while he does, I would appreciate if everyone else would be upstanding and really give a warm round of thank you and appreciation for everything John has done. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate it. That's for you. Thank you. Thank you. Full talk to you. Okay, do you want to say some words? Oh, okay. Excellent. The mics will control music.
Well, thank you very much, Des. I appreciated your very kind words, and I want to thank everybody who made this such a wonderful day. It was such a good feeling to be here among all the friends and hear the I hope they're true, maybe they're true, kind things that people said about me. It was really wonderful. I want to thank you very much. And it was stimulating hearing people talk about work that some of which I did a long time ago, and I had the feeling of, my golly, I was kind of smart in those days. So that was a good feeling, and seeing the exciting work that has come on to the present day from some of the things that I worked on a long time ago. Richard Klein's work is just amazing nowadays. I can't penetrate very much into radiative MHD. All I can do is ooh and ah over the pictures. When Stan was talking about the recent extensions of our stellar wind theory, I thought, wow, that is great. There are some outstanding problems that we used to have that it looks like they're getting fixed. So Stan said a little bit about what a BE star is, an emission line B star, where there's a disk of material around the star, and it contributes emission lines that you see in the spectrum. We could never understand where those things came from. And now it seems like there are quantitative models of BE stars, and that's a tremendous success. And the other thing the stellar wind theory was up against is that thanks to some of our critics, Leon Lucy in particular, who pointed out that the stellar winds were violently unstable. They'll never do the kind of thing that the models that Richard, Dave Abbott, and I made said. Instead, they're going to be violent instabilities. Well, then I worked together with George Rybicki and Stan Iwaki on the instabilities, and that was very exciting work. And Stan and his students, Ken Gailey and others, have continued that work to the present time, and now I think we're getting close to understanding how shock waves formed in the stellar wind quantitatively lead to the X-ray spectra that have been observed for 40 years or so, the X-ray emission from the stellar winds, and that's a big achievement. And then let me see. Chris Fons was talking about the application to macronovae. That seems very exciting. Maybe there's some theoretical issues to understand there. I'm encouraging Chris, and maybe I can even look over his shoulder and participate in this a little bit, to see how the work of my old graduate student Dave Friend on multi-line scattering, and Stan described this, how that could actually maybe help in the macronova problem. So I think that's something very interesting that's going forward. And I'm quite interested in the opacity results these days. Well, one of my hats was sort of an opacity broker here at Livermore, and if we can't believe the tabulated opacities, we're in real trouble. Well, the tabulated opacities have been checked in a very, very careful series of experiments on the Sandia Z machine, and they frequently fail. Well, that's a problem. And people have worked very hard to try to correct the opacity theory to produce agreement, and Stephanie referred to maybe some things that can be put into the theory that will help, but maybe they won't help. And if that's the case, we need to try to understand what is happening in the opacity theory, and so that is ongoing work, and I hope to keep an eye on that. I probably won't be doing much of that personally, but I do want to keep an eye on what's happening. And let me see, I'm probably forgetting something, but these are the exciting things that I heard about today. My feeling was in hearing some of this work that, wow, that sounds so good, I want to get me some of that, you know, so anyway, I'll be looking around for ways to participate after some fashion. And again, I want to thank everybody for being so kind. Thank you.